It's raining, and I've been thinking about this long time coming, but I think I just need to journal out my thoughts here and put them out there for whoever needs some mental help, I guess, mental clarity, mental whatever. As men, we go through life, and you think like you think you're unique, but not in that sort of way where you're like, wow, I'm special and I'm Superman and I have superpowers. Or maybe you do. But we're not we're not so unique, Bro, go talk to some old people. You'll see what I mean by that. I recently found out I have some issues, to say the least, and mental issues for sure, but they're not like, depression or anxiety or something like that, It's just issues of unprocessed, what do they call it? The doctor called it PTSD, like I came from Iraq, but without the Iraq part, of course. Men are never told to speak up when shit hits the fan. You're never taught, hey, say this when something goes south, or do that, especially if you don't have a dad around in your life. Unfortunately, I didn't have a dad or a mom for a big part of my life. And then when I turned like 10-ish is when my mom came back into my life, quote unquote, because technically I left my old life and then came into her life in a very far away place. That already tells you fucking abandonment issues galore. Like, Jesus, bruh. That's just one thing, but that's just me ranting about my own condition, about my own life, I guess. But holy, look at this brightness, huh? There you go. Just have a light because it's fucking dark. It's goddamn dark out here in the middle of the US and day. But yeah, man, I hope somebody can see this someday, hear this someday. I want to keep this up as a show of me accepting who I am. Hopefully my son can see this someday. Hey, Ryan, I'm going to direct you to this someday. I'm currently 26. I'm going to be 27 on the 9th. It's currently November 5th, so in 4 days. On Sunday, I think it's Sunday, whatever. But I want my son and like other men out there in the world that you're not lesser for having problems. I feel like my thing when I was growing up, you to be gay or something, or you're fruitcake or like whatever, some negative ass thing, because you have problems, because you have emotional problems. My emotional problem was I was so scared to speak up because I knew there was going to be retaliation from my peers if I ever shared with peers. I didn't feel really attached to anybody in my life growing up. You grow up, you go to school, you're just a kid. What are you expected to do? Oh, just get good grades, and then you'll be fine. And that's not really the case for your mental, for your accomplishments, quote unquote accomplishments. I know there's a lot of us men, especially, that struggle with getting good grades in school. Like when you're in middle school and in high school, and if you're lucky enough to have the opportunity to go to college, in college too, man, like academics are really hard for men because we are more hands-on people, you know. I was cursed and blessed by having a restrictive brain where I spent through so much, like especially my formative years, you know, my 0 to 4, 0 to 5, 0 to 5, yeah, 0 to 5 especially, but even my 5 to 9, I still got a lot. But you know, I recently learned that if you go through some shit from 0 years old to 3 years old, it's really bad. 4 to like 7, it's still really bad, but it's less bad, but it's still really fucked no matter what. No matter what age. Like you're just a kid, you know. And when you're younger, what happens? Things stick to you better, you know. Like that's why kids can learn a new language better than adults can, because it just sticks to you, man. You're a sponge when you're a kid. So if you're around a chaotic environment, whether it's verbally or physically chaotic, it's gonna fuck you up. Your brain development gets literally stunted, apparently. I saw some YouTube video about it, like some PhD, MD. It was like a white guy, I remember. Great. Did he have gray hair? Fuck. I'm sure you can look it up on YouTube, like how trauma affects babies. Holy shit, blue light. And yeah, dude, it affects babies, especially the worst. Like, let's say a 6-month-old, a 1-year-old, and a 4-year-old all hear, you know, some verbal argument and like some bad energy kind of thing. If you don't believe in energy and all that stuff, is fine. But like the vibes, you know, like you just know when you walk in a dark alley, you know the vibes are wrong. Like, not every alley though, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, some alleys you're like, oh, it's chill, like I'll be cool here. But some alleys you're like, hey, yo, I'm gonna take the long way around, even if it's a 2-hour walk, because I get a weird feeling. I don't know, I sort of have been developing that intuition as of late, all because, and it's funny, all because I just been accepting a little bit of myself, accepting my problems, accepting my traumas. Like going through certain types of abuse, like for example, sexual abuse doesn't make you gay. It doesn't make you any lesser of a man. It just means that somebody was fucked up enough to do some crazy shit to you, man. You know? Like, that's all that it means. Like, it's not your fault. You know? It's nobody's fault but the aggressor's fault. And you really have to like understand that it's not your fault, and you don't even want to tell your friends, you don't want to tell your parents. Sometimes you have a bad relationship with parents. Again, like me, I had a single mom, so my stress was, oh, I can't tell my mom anything. Like, for example, I couldn't even ask her if I knew for a fact that she wouldn't have $20 to spare for a field trip, for example. I just wouldn't ask, because my brain was like, dog, you're gonna bring more stress, more problems, you're gonna get yelled at more, blah blah blah, you know. Like, and this was at a point where I felt quote unquote safe in life, you know. Like living with my mom, it was chill, man. Like my mom worked all day, yeah, but like there was food in the fridge, there was video games at home, you know. If I wanted to go over to somebody's house, if she wasn't off work, she'd be like, hey, you know, I'll go pick you up afterwards. Just make sure somebody can like drop you off or whatever. She gave me free range, but never that emotional closeness that I needed to be comfortable in saying, hey, this is what's going on. Actually, I'm bringing that up because I just did that yesterday, dude. I told my mom so much shit. Well, actually, not even so much shit. Like, I literally told her like roughly 5% of the bad things that have happened, and she was like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, I wish I could have been there for you. My whole life has been around you not getting hurt and stuff. But it's just me giving me my my own example of what's happened to me and how that has stunted me. And I'm not even saying anything. I'm just gibberishing here because I don't want to see. I don't even feel comfortable putting that out there into the world yet. But step one of acceptance is just accepting that you're not well, accepting that you need to reflect in your own life, accepting that you need some help, emotional help, psychological help. It doesn't even have to be with a therapist, bro. Like, go to a counselor. Google like mental health crisis centers, like mental health hotline, mental health resources in my area, things like that. Like, if you don't feel comfortable talking to anybody about anything, man, because it's a lot. You just have to, like, even your deepest, darkest demons that you have deep inside, you got to bring them out. You got to let them out so they don't stop living inside of you, stop hindering your progress. Just leaving your demons inside of you is going to either make you drink too much, make you smoke a lot, whether it's weed or cigarettes or whatever. It's going to make you binge eat. It could even make you physically harm yourself, because the pain is so much. You could do crazy hard drugs like injecting yourself with shit, all that kind of stuff. And you don't want that, man. Like, it's not good for you. It hinders your progress, especially as a man. As a woman too, but speaking for me as a man, it hinders your progress as a man of being able to do stuff, like get a better job, like climb up the career ladder. Because when you start doing substances to just numb yourself, it just makes you like, well, I just want to chill. I want to be in my room. I want to hang out. I don't want to do much. I don't want to succeed in life. I don't want to do anything like that. And that's so bad for you. That's the whole point of life, is just to keep going and build and build and build and build and build and build. But you start by building your own life. You have to find who you are. If you deep inside, like, you tell yourself, hey man, I've been neglected by my parents. Oh, but I lived with both of my parents and they were always there, like physically. Yeah, physically they were there, but they weren't there for you emotionally. So you don't know how to traverse life. You don't know how to traverse life's emotions, if you will. You don't know how to do that because your parents were never there for you, or your caregiver, whoever the hell was that you grew up next to, never really gave you that time of day to be there emotionally for you. And that's really where a lot of problems start, But it's not just neglect. Maybe you were physically abused. And a lot of parents are like, oh, yeah, it's just spanking, Yeah, maybe once or twice, like, you give a little hand on the cheeks, just, a little one of those. But then if you're like, what one example would happen to me when I was living with my grandma. Thank God my mom's never hit me, or else I don't even know. It was already hard for me. Dude, I'm 26, almost 27 in 5 days or 4 days. And I was barely able to tell my mom one thing that happened to me, man, out of the many things that have happened. My grandma, one day, I came home, basketball shorts were wet. No, not even, they were like dressing shorts, I think. Yellow shorts. And check this out, I remember so vividly. I was like 6 or 5. So it's like 20 years ago. Yellow shorts, Buzz Lightyear underwear. And I forgot what shirt I was wearing, to be honest. I usually match, so probably a yellow shirt. My mom didn't live with me, but she would send me, my grandma money for clothes and stuff like that. So I was always pretty kidded, in clothes. I lived in Mexico and she lived in the States, and I couldn't legally come, so I wasn't able to at that time. But she would send money, and, I was kidded out in clothes. But anyways, I came home one day just from having a water fight with friends, just some kid shit. And then I remember being yelled at like crazy. And, that's normal, whatever. You're going to yell at your kids, whatever. But then I was asked to go in the shower, and bro, being wet and getting spanked with the belt when your cheeks are wet hurt. Like, that is the most pain I've endured. And she beat me a lot of the times, but that was a pretty painful experience, dude. And That's one of the like that's one of the small things. But see, I remember what I was wearing and everything just because it hurts so bad that it's imprinted in my mind, like the whole fucking event. I remember like the place we were at getting wet and all that stuff. It was like a warehouse area, like outside. You know how they have those big doors outside of warehouses where the big trailers back up into? Yeah, I remember that. And it was just a hose there. And then we fucking said, hell yeah, dude, there's water. Let's fucking just play water fight, you know? Like kids, you're just being a fucking kid. What would have been the proper thing to do? Oh my God. Like, you know, go get in the shower. You're going to get sick. Or, hey, go change your clothes out or something and dry your clothes out. There was no reason to beat me, bro. But that's just one struggle. And I know there's many kids out there that downplay their struggles. Not even kids, dude. Like even adults. Do you downplay your struggles because you don't want to be seen as a victim? You don't want a pity party? Again, you can't accept who you are, but it's not who you are. If you accept that it happened to you, it's just a part of your life, dude. It's a minuscule part of your life. You just have to deal with that. And when you realize it and you deal with that, and also don't deal with it by just thinking about it. You have to talk to somebody. It doesn't matter. Again, doesn't matter if it's a therapist. Doesn't matter if it's a crisis center person. It doesn't matter who it is. You just have to talk about it out loud because you have to let it into the world. The best way I can think about this is um the best way I could think about this is demons aren't real, you know? They're not physically here. But a sound wave, which is sound coming out of your mouth, is real. You can physically measure that. And guess what? When you turn your demons into a physical, what is it called? Like means, if you will. If you make them physical, they're not demons anymore. They're just words, bro. And a lot of feelings are going to come out. And it's not going to be instantaneously. You're probably going to be stressed. And you might binge eat. You might want to work out a lot. You might want to go have sex. You might want to have alcohol. You might want to consume some drugs or smoke or whatever. And that's where it's really hard. That's where people fall into addiction because they're like, I've been happy doing X substance before, doing X activity before. Let me go do that. So yeah, just be cautious of how you deal with that. And that's why you just have to talk to somebody and have to tell them, hey, shit's going to come out. You may need to check up on me. I want you to check up on me. Or, you know, if it's a therapist, they'll probably tell you how to deal with it. But if it's like a person that you know in your personal life, it could be a friend, it could be whoever. Just tell them, hey man, it may make me crash out a little bit, and it'll be a subtle crash out, internal crash out. You know, it's not nothing external. So just be wary. But again, acceptance, man. It doesn't matter if you were sexually abused, physically abused, verbally abused, any kind of issues that you've had. You just have to let them out, man. You have to let it out. You can't let the demons win. You have to let them out. You have to talk about it with somebody. And I know it's hard, especially as a man. They tell you, oh, you're not supposed to cry. Bro, the older and older I get, the more I respect the man, and not for his accomplishments, but because of what they are, like their substance. The more I understand, it's okay, bro. Like, you're gonna cry. You're gonna cry, bro. You know why? Because you're overflooded with emotions, dog. It's just emotions are a lot. And if you never exercised your emotional muscle, that emotional muscle in your brain is just going to get overworked, and it's going to get so tired. And instead of being sore, you know, like, you do a couple like 20 push-ups and you've never done a push-up in your life. And the next day you're like, wow, my arms or chest are sore. That emotional muscle is going to get overworked, and it's quote unquote soreness, if you will, is by crying, man. See, it is what it is. Like, let it out. Who cares if you cry? If somebody gives you shit, are they paying your bills? Are they putting food on your plate? Are they doing anything positive for you in life? If it's your parents and they're giving you shit, like, are they harnessing a good, healthy future for you? Like, are they keeping you safe? Do they make you feel emotionally safe where you can literally tell them anything and everything without thinking about it? Without thinking, oh, I'm going to get in trouble, I'm going to do this or that. You know, if you don't feel safe bringing it up in front of anybody, who cares? Like, if they don't want to accept you for who you are and your struggles, it just means they don't understand. And you just have to seek somebody that understands and is willing to listen to you or help you. There's teachers out there in the world that will listen to you. Go to a church. It doesn't matter if you're a member. Just go to a church and go talk to somebody, like any church. I don't care if you hate church, if you love church, if you go to church all the time, if you don't go to church all the time, if you don't find anywhere else, go to a church and be like, hey man, I just need to talk to somebody. And ask them, where can I get help? Like, if you can't afford like a therapist or something, hey, I can't afford a therapist. Like, you know, but I just need help with dealing with my emotions. Just seek help. You have to seek help because it's tough. They never teach men to be emotional. They just teach you to be strong. Be nice and be strong. You know, be a gentleman. Be strong. But they never teach you to be emotional. Never. And that's a toughie, dude. But it all starts with acceptance. The best thing I learned this week was no matter how big dog you are, or like how rich and powerful or strong you are, you got to live life on life's terms. You can't force anything. You know, when you force like anything, you know, you're forcing like a stick into a hole, and if you force it too much, it's gonna break. Same thing with life. If you force things in life, how do you know if that stick, if that action, you know, the stick is supposed to go in that hole that you're trying to shove it, or in life, you know, if that action, how do you know it's supposed to go in your life? You don't know. You can't force things. You just gotta accept whatever's happening in the past so you can process that shit and then keep moving forward. Because you know the answer is always inside of you. It's not gonna be no religious leader. It's not gonna be no political candidate. It's not gonna be in no philanthropist. It's not gonna be in any organization. It's always with you, you know? And it's tough shit out there. But you just have to accept all your problems inside, no matter how minuscule they are. Never dismiss your struggles. Never make them smaller than they are, because they're not small, bro. If you think it's a problem, then it's a fucking problem. Problems are man-made. They're also man-defined. So if you think it's a problem, then it's a problem. If you're uncomfortable with something, then you're uncomfortable with something. It is what it is, you know? Like, it's that simple, man. You just have to accept it. Don't fall into addiction. Oh, the other thing is porn addiction too, bro. Anything that makes you feel quote unquote good or relaxed or whatever. That's how you cope with events in life, if you will. But yeah. That's the one for today, huh? You know, it didn't start from today, but all this acceptance started on Monday. But today I read this passage from this. It's called Daily Reflections, I think. It's November 5th, so I read that one. And it talks about God, you know, and if you're not into God, whatever. But it's a good way to put it. Just replace God with life if you want. And that's it. Like, you just have to live life on life's terms. You can't control everything. You can't live life on your own terms, because you didn't create this life. Life was already made before you even existed, before you were even conceived. So you have to live life on life's terms.